Good afternoon, ladies. We're moving on through Proverbs 23, and this particular section will go from probably 29 to 35, but today we're only going to cover 29 and 30. This section will be teaching and warning against drunkenness. Drunkenness. We ask you, please, one of the ladies to read first.
¿Para quién será el ay? ¿Para quién el dolor? ¿Para quién las rencillas? ¿Para quién las quejas? ¿Para quién las heridas en balde? ¿Para quién lo amoratado de los ojos? Para los que se detienen mucho en el vino, para los que van buscando la mistura.
All right.
Who has woe? Who has sorrow? Who has contentions? Who has complaints? Who has wounds without cause? Who has redness of eyes? Those who linger long at the wine, those who go in search of mixed wine.
All right. He's asking some questions here, Solomon is. Wolford and Zuck says 6 questions call attention to the emotional problems of misery and sorrow, to social problems, strife and complaints, and to physical problems, bruises and bloodshot eyes. Who has all of these? They that tarry at the wine and tarry with the strong drink. Matthew Henry's concise commentary says, Solomon here warns against drunkenness. Those that would be kept from sin must keep from all the beginnings of it. If you don't start, you don't have to stop. And they will have those that have healthy knowledge and fear of the common consequences and punishment of drunkenness. Drunkards willingly make woe and sorrow for themselves. Okay? The tongue grows unruly, and the heart utters things contrary to reason. If you've ever been around a person that's drunk, they utter things that don't make sense. And you can't reason with them because they make no sense in what they're thinking and how they perceive things. Benson's commentary says, they run themselves, the drunkard, into all manner of mischief. They are never out of danger, but they are engaged in constant quarrels wherever they are. Wherever they live, they are constant quarrels because they make noise, they cause tumult and fighting. There is much disrespectful talking, confusion, and they cause wounds and physical and emotional wounds to themselves and others. You will find that they are so in love with the drink and the wine that because they will go back to it. Even though they've gone through all of that, they'll go back to it. And it results in these consequences. Gill's exposition says, who hath woe, sorrow? The drunkard. He has it through the pains of his body, through the headaches through the agonies of his mind and the torture of his conscience. He has it for the sin committed. He has it through poverty and want. He's without. He has contentions. He has quarrels and lawsuits, which are often come out of drunken bouts. Who has babbling, foolish talk, and vain babbling, and scoffing, and jeers, especially at godliness, and even sometimes at God himself? Who hath wounds without a cause? From words, oftentimes drunkards go to blows upon the most nonsense, ridiculous things. They're ready to fight. They fight for no reason at all. And they sometimes get themselves beaten and bruised for nothing at all. Who hath redness of eyes? The drunkard has inflamed himself with wine or strong drink to excess. Many times is the cause for his eyes to be sore and can leave redness there. Also redness in other parts of the face. We've seen that many, many times. Bible reference says, Scripture does not give a blanket command for believers to avoid all alcohol consumption. But it does give a command not to be in drunkenness. You're going to see that, and I'm going to give you quite a few verses, those that are listening out. Ephesians 5:18. Ephesians 5:18. Luke 1:15. 1 Timothy 3:3. I'm sorry. Yes, it is 1 Timothy. I can't read mine right. 1 Timothy 3:3. 1 Timothy 3:3. 1 Timothy 1:3. And Proverbs 20:1. It does not say that you couldn't consume it, but never to overindulge or to excess. The Bible warns against drunkenness. However, the Bible makes it clear that alcohol is not to be used carelessly. It is also important to note that the society of today offers easier access to intoxicating drinks with much greater potency than was typical in the early biblical era. These verses note that those who drink to excess are the ones who are subject to misery, to strife, to complaining, to wounds and redness of eyes. There is much more on this subject to come. And as they say on the soap operas, tune in next week as we go further in to what the scripture has to say, because it has a lot to say about drunkenness. We are just touching the surface today. We will move on to verses 31 to 35, and it will cover in depth. But we've seen who has complaints, who has misery, the drunkard. And finally, they first take the drink, and later on the drink takes them. And it takes them to misery, to poverty, to jail, to tragedy, to many, many, many dark places. It's glamorized, just like last week we studied. There are a lot of things in modern society now that we glamorize. And it's killing off people by the thousands, because we cannot control ourselves. And it was given, as we saw Paul said to Timothy, because Timothy had a bad tummy, and Paul told him, just drink a little wine. That will soothe the stomach. He didn't say get drunk. The scriptures didn't say when Jesus turned the water into wine, they all got sloppy drunk. That's not how it is. It was festive, celebratory occasion, but it was never meant for us to get drunk and be filled with to excess with wine or strong drink, to we're in a stupor. The movies, and the movies and the commercials don't show them with wet pants. They don't show that part. They show them a little stumbling, but they don't show them crawling around in their vomit. They don't show that. They don't show them cursing and beating their children because the alcohol has taken over their mind and is controlling their emotions. This sounds crude, but it's real. It's true. Who has woe? Who has trouble? Who has misery? The drunkard. That's all he had, is misery. Who has misery? That person that stays at that place too long. We even call it happy hour. Is it happy? Are we happy? Does it make you happy? No. Makes you act strange. But what comes out of that is misery. Misery and foolishness. You're trying to explain, and the person's mind is messed up. It doesn't need you trying to hold a reasonable conversation with a drunk. You're not going to get a reasonable answer because they don't have the capacity at that point to be able to be reasonable. They think they're being reasonable, It's so sad, the company parties. They start out, everybody you work with, they have this company party. And then the drinks start to flow. And the person that you had respect for, they lose all respect. Why? Because you get woe, you get misery, you get red eyes, you get poverty, you get disrespect. People are not laughing with you, they're laughing at you because you stumbling and falling and carrying on. They're laughing at you. They're not laughing with you. But we try to glamorize that. But the scripture lays it out just like it is. Who has woe? In other words, don't start and you won't have to worry about stopping. Okay? Pains of the body, headaches, agonies of the mind, and torture of the conscience. I don't know if you've ever watched the movie with Jack Lemmon, The Day of Wine and Roses. It depicts the true picture of an alcoholic. And it's so destructive. It's so sad. It causes much misery to everybody involved. As I said before, we're just beginning. We're just getting in on the ground floor of this picture and warning that the scripture's given us against drunkenness. Thank you for listening, and we will pick up, God willing, next week.